Hello guys, my name is Rishi Prasanna, and this is my introduction slide, honestly. Very simplistic. Today I'm going to be talking about my graduation goals and my career goals and some clubs and organizations I plan to join, and also the steps towards achieving each of my graduation goals and career goals. So let's get started. So first off, my graduation goals. There's two things I really want to accomplish in terms of graduation goals. First one is learn the difference between the indie and corporate game and film industries through, first-hand experiences, hopefully from some of the instructors and also from other people that have already worked in the industry as well. And learn how to use the newest CGI technology, such as Unreal Engine 5, Maya, and Houdini, to create compelling, inclusive, dynamic computational media. So basically, I classify computational media into three different parts. These three parts are, there's two dynamic ones and one static one. Static media is basically stuff like concept art and, stuff like that. Dynamic, non-interactable media is stuff like TV shows, film, animated film, that kind of stuff, where the audience has no agency to change the movie, and dynamic, interactable media. This is where video games and interactable TV shows such as that one Bear Grylls Into the Wild. I don't know if that was the title, but TV show on Netflix where you get to choose Bear Grylls' fate or stuff like that, by actually choosing the path that Bear Grylls chooses to take through the forest, basically. And so I'm focusing mainly on creating dynamic computational media, namely games and film. So I want to kind of draw some parallels between dynamic non-interactable media and dynamic interactable media, and try to find a streamlined process to create both kinds in the mothership, Unreal Engine 5. So here are the steps for doing each of my, for getting or achieving my graduation goals. I would create an effective pipeline that is good for 3D indie games and film. And I believe some of the classes in Full Sail University are going to help out with that. Specifically, I think the Advanced Design Workshop and the Advanced Production Techniques are going to go through that, as well as Game Assets, that one class that is number 10 on the list. Are going to go through that. And hopefully we're going to learn more about Unreal Engine. I already know how to use Maya and ZBrush. I was planning to find an outlet to learn Houdini as well for VFX. And I wanted to learn Unreal Engine specifically because I heard this university's classes are in Unreal Engine 5, which is super exciting. I get to take advantage of the new features. I want to experience the collaborative game design environment of Full Sail University and take notes. And I want to create an indie game in Unreal Engine 5. I hope we're going to be doing that for our thesis. And learn to work with and understand all of the other departments that are working with you when you create a game, or even an animated film, or any type of dynamic computational media for that matter. So next, we're going to talk about my career goals. First things first, I want to become an indie 3D animated film and game director, but mostly a 3D animated film director, because I want to bring my book series, Little Racing Aliens, to the big screen in epic 3D animation fashion. And in doing so, I want to try to employ a strategic way to avoid crunch culture and also to avoid, overworking employees, and also try to address inequalities and inequities in the employment system as I'm trying to hire people to try to help me work on the film to achieve my career goals. I'm not immediately going to be able to work on the movie, like not right out of college, because I would need some experience to understand the industry. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be working at internships and jobs in 3D animation, game design, and hopefully film as well, to really understand how the industry works. This second one's kind of optional. I don't know if I'm actually going to be able to do that yet, unless I get some really nice funding, honestly. Found a small indie 3D animation studio and used the software pipeline that I used in college for creating computational media. The research, the research I do in computational media over here at Full Sail University. Actually, it's an MS in game design, but it's still computational media. The research I'm going to be doing in pursuing this MS in game design, it's going to help me, learn how to create games better and how to work with different types of computational media that addresses issues either in our industry or, social issues that we have today. I'm going to hire for jobs needed in 3D animation, VFX, lighting, etc. And when I do hire for these jobs, right, I'm going to be using my notes from college, to create energetic, non-crunch, inclusive, and a welcoming environment, and try to hire more diversity in the process. Try to go about it differently. Instead of trying to check off a checklist, like do you have your Asian actor, do you have your black actor, do you have your etc., I want to try to employ a different kind of strategy to hire more diversity, because I don't want to just be looking for people just because of their race or just because of their sex or whatnot. I want to look for the best people in the job, but also keep the window more open to, diverse peoples with diverse cultures. It's very important to get funding for the movie through crowdfunding, grants and fellowships, and other means, because if you don't really get funding for your movie, then how are you going to pay your voice actors? How am I going to pay the animation and VFX departments and their workers, etc. I also want to create and foster an effective flow of communication between departments working on the movie to ensure lack of time waste and, to make sure that I don't drive my employees crazy. And another thing I'm doing to try to do that is to finish the script and outline of the plot first. This is extremely important because once, if you don't have your script complete from the outset, if you don't have a solid script from the outset, and you decide to go for years or maybe even months or even years in one direction, and then to all of a sudden change one thing and then go in a completely opposite direction, that's actually a big deal, which VFX artists have been complaining about, and people working on the movie have been complaining about. Because changing one thing in the script, you need to go from post-production to pre-production, because you need to change all the VFX, you need to change all sorts of other things, and that's not an easy task. That's one thing that causes crunch, when you have to redo all sorts of different things and it doesn't quite work right. Bullcrap, it's terrible. And using the powerful Unreal Engine 5 as a mothership, create the film using the 3D software pipeline from college. Some more steps to take while creating the movies. I want to foster and encourage mental health awareness and make sure employees are not being overworked. Some of the steps in the previous slide actually were steps in that direction. I want to create an environment of strategic procrastination, and this I actually discussed in my paper from last week. So if you want to learn more about that, it's basically procrastination in order to foster creativity in the time that you're taking rest. You know what I mean? Getting your mind bored, having time off in order to come back so much stronger, to not only replenish employees' minds and strength, but also to allow unique ideas to emerge. And this is sort of on the theme of Little Racing Aliens, using I would like to also use neo-modern heavy bass music and innovative sound design and musical experimentation in the score, and making sure to establish effective character themes to give the movie, you know, a lot more credibility, and to make the characters also feel believable, and to make the characters more human in a way, even though they're aliens. And finally, going through these last few steps for the career goals. Release trailers for the first Little Racing Aliens movie when ready. Make sure to include, make sure to make a very goofy and unique, but a strong trailer that is going to hook people onto the movie. And when I'm finished, I want to sit down with the company for a rewarding movie night the day before release to allow the employees to look at their work, look at how much they've done. And extremely important, last step right here, give everyone in the company a very hefty back end for their efforts. Pay men and women and every race/ethnicity equal salaries and bonuses. And this is extremely important because there's always the pay gap between men and women you often see in the industry, and VFX artists have almost never gotten a back end. The only time they've ever gotten a back end was when George Lucas and I believe Keanu Reeves, Keanu Reeves gave a very hefty back end to the VFX crew, and George Lucas also split some bonuses for whoever worked on the film. Alright, so this quote is actually pretty interesting because I read it from a book about, the early stages of animation and how eventually it became the animation in video games and also film. Each cartoon character seems to have two souls, an assimilated and an unassimilated. The unassimilated souls of cartoon characters are like bad boy avatars of those who enjoy the movies and want to break out of their petty burgoy's existence, I don't know how to pronounce that, but are unable to do so. Cartoon aficionados, aka viewers, seem to sympathize with the unassimilated, while cartoon producers usually will go for the assimilated. And I think this is extremely important because you often see, I think this is very important because you often see in film and also games how characters, there's not enough emphasis on character creation and making a character, instead trying to check off a checklist, do you have this kind of actor, do you have that kind of actor, do you have every race/ethnicity, and you kind of make a point of that, but then you don't actually confront the issues in the characters themselves, and you don't make the characters, you don't necessarily need to assimilate characters to an industry. You need to create something unique, and this is something I wanted to emphasize in creating games with a bunch of narratology, as well as films, which are obviously hubs of narratology. Is character creation is extremely important, and that's one thing I want to accomplish through world building, through using a company strategy of world building. And at last, we are going to be looking at some clubs and organizations that I can join in order to gain more knowledge of the industry as a whole, and try to solve some of the issues. Not really solve, but more mitigate some of these issues and try to confront them. One of these clubs is actually called Creative Spaces. And Creative Spaces, quote, provides an inclusive platform to exhibit art, design, and technology for the Full Sail community to experience virtually and on campus. The creative work featured here shall be exhibited in this safe space to engage the Full Sail audience and facilitate conversation, contemplation, and critical thinking while fostering diversity and inclusion. And the reason I want to join Creative Spaces is I want to try to find how people from different cultures create art, and how people from different cultures live different lives. and how to maybe incorporate that either in the movies that I want to make, the movie series Little Racing Aliens that I want to, you know, bring to the theater, but also how to celebrate different types of people, really celebrate different personal experiences, different human experiences, which I think is very important in order to show empathy for those kinds of people in the industry. The second club I would like to join is the Full Sail Writing Conference, which is an annual event that celebrates the art, craft, and business of creative writing. And, well, self-explanatory. I'm writing a book series which I want to bring to the big screen, and, well, in Little Racing Aliens, right? Little Racing Aliens is the book series that I want to bring to the theaters in 3D animation fashion, and basically I want to learn how to write a little bit better and submit maybe my work for feedback from time to time, you know what I mean? The third club I was thinking of joining is Voices of Full Sail, and this is also on the path of recognizing people with diverse perspectives and promoting belonging and inclusion and trying to solve issues of racial inequities, inequalities, and all sorts of other all sorts of other lacks of justice, injustices, all sorts of other injustices that are being suffered in the industry. And Voices of Full Sail, I get to listen to people talk about their experiences at their home and also in the real world and how other people are treating them. And this is something I've always wanted to learn ever since high school. I've wanted to learn more about the culture of other people